I'm Kemit-Amon, the Coral Conservation Manager for the Nature Conservancy's Caribbean program. I lead the coral reef restoration and conservation work across the Caribbean region, developing strategies and best practices for coral reef restoration, as well as initiatives to better understand and reduce or eliminate threats to coral reefs. Since the 1980s, the Nature Conservancy has worked with partner organizations to implement coral conservation programs throughout the Caribbean. The goal of these initiatives has been to eliminate or reduce man-made stressors that harm coral reefs, and this work has become more important than ever in a changing climate. In 2009, I was hired by the Nature Conservancy in my home island of St. Croix to establish a coral reef conservation program for the U.S. Virgin Islands. With funding from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, we added coral reef restoration to our conservation toolbox. In 2009, we also became even more proactive. We developed a reef resilience plan, a more holistic approach to coral reef conservation, which includes initiatives to better understand the impacts of climate change on coral reefs, particularly the impact of coral bleaching. We developed the Reef Responsible Sustainable Seafood Initiative, a market-driven approach to a sustainable seafood industry, which also translates into healthier reefs. And we established coral reef nurseries, which have been used to strategically outplant over 25,000 endangered species listed elkhorn and staghorn corals onto over 100 reefs across the U.S. Virgin Islands. We are transplanting corals to Cane Bay, my favorite high school scuba club dive site, and with each transplanted coral, I am creating new fond memories of the place and activity that sparked my interest in marine science. Our work on coral reef restoration has been modeled to help expand the effort throughout the Caribbean region, and we have trained or helped to establish coral reef restoration projects in the Bahamas, the British Virgin Islands, in Grenada, Cuba, and across the globe to the island of Hainan in China just last year. We otherwise support coral reef restoration efforts in Jamaica, Hispaniola, and the Grenadine Bank, and have shared our best practices with programs in Curacao, Guam, and in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. We also learn from partners and are currently developing new techniques to advance the scale of our restoration work. In 2013, our program launched the Caribbean Challenge Initiative, through which 9 Caribbean governments have made commitments to effectively manage 20% of their nearshore marine habitat by the year 2020. On the ground, our conservation scientists continue to support these 9 and other Caribbean countries with tools to better preserve coastal habitats like corals, seagrasses, mangroves, and beaches, improve local fisheries, and help in the recovery of iconic and charismatic sea turtles. In fact, since identifying and working to reduce the threats to green sea turtles at our Jack and Isaacs Bay Preserve on St. Croix, we have seen the population grow from around 8 nesting females in 1994 to 246 nesting females in 2016. In Grenville, on the windward side of Grenada, we are working to help slow and eventually reverse the erosion of coastal lands. The offshore reef that no longer breaks wave energy is being rebuilt by the local community with our guidance. Rebuilding the structural complexity of that reef, along with the planting of mangrove trees along the coast, will help to bring back the shoreline enjoyed by many residents and visitors alike. We are helping to improve fisheries and coral reef health in Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and the Grenadine Bank through the Caribbean Marine Biodiversity Program, and are currently building our Resilient Islands program to further advance our work on community and coastal resilience. In the case of corals, it is my hope that the many ecological, economic, and cultural benefits that they provide to Caribbean islanders and visitors will continue to exist now and into the future. I do not see an alternative to our coral conservation work in the Caribbean, because the Caribbean without reefs is not a place that I want to imagine and definitely don't want to ever witness. But with so many successful projects taking place across the Caribbean, I remain hopeful about our ability to address the impacts of a changing climate. Through research and conservation, we can enhance resilience, making our reefs, our coasts, our oceans, and our communities stronger against the impacts of climate change, which we cannot easily control.